Hello, and welcome to the Political Party and Candidate Information video for the 43rd Provincial General Election. The information shared is not considered legal advice by Elections BC and is based on our current understanding of the legislation. If in the future our understanding changes, or laws or interpretation change, then the information provided in this video may not be applicable. The responsibility for compliance with the legislation rests with each individual and organization having duties under the Election Act. Therefore, if you require an interpretation of specific circumstances, you may wish to consider seeking your own independent legal advice. The training will cover the following topics: an introduction to candidate nomination process, the candidate nomination system, CNAS, and endorsements, Election Act amendments, financial agent responsibilities, contributions, transfers and loans, expenses, election advertising, fundraising, and finally, offenses and penalties. The first section is going to cover nomination contests for parties, and then the nomination process to become a candidate with Elections BC. For candidates who are going to represent parties, the party must first have a nomination contest in the electoral district for their prospective candidate to determine which individual they will endorse in the given electoral district. The party will then submit a nomination contest information form to us within 14 days of the contest end date. Please note, many nomination contests will only have one individual in the contest who is then acclaimed, or in some electoral districts, appointed. However, there are some instances where a more traditional contest is required to decide between several contestants. All successful, acclaimed, appointed, and even unsuccessful contestants must submit a nomination contestant financing report within 90 days of the contest end date. If they have a financial agent other than themselves, the agent will submit the report. A report may be filed by the late filing deadline with a $500 fee. There are penalties for failing to file a report, which could include disqualification. Independent candidates, those who will not represent parties, will not have a nomination contest and can proceed right into applying to become a candidate for the Provincial General Election with Elections BC. To become a candidate in the election, you must complete and submit a nomination package with Elections BC. The standing nomination period will end when the writs are issued on September 21st. Then the ordinary nomination period begins. During the standing nomination period, all candidate nomination applications are filed with the Chief Electoral Officer directly through the nominations team at Elections BC headquarters via the Candidate Nomination Application System, which we call CNAS, or by any other filing method. By filing early, candidates have more time to ensure their forms are correctly completed and accepted, so our team can issue their certificate of candidacy as soon as possible on writ day. These candidates will be published on our website earlier as well. The current list is already online and is updated daily. Nomination applications, including CNAS applications, filed during the ordinary nomination period, must be filed with and reviewed by the district electoral officers. It is your responsibility to ensure that your nomination documents are complete. Candidates with completed and accepted nominations in the standing nomination period will receive their candidate kit immediately upon acceptance. Candidates who file nomination packages during the ordinary nomination period, from September 21st to 1 p.m. September 28th, will receive their candidate kit and certificate of candidacy from the District Electoral Officer, or DEO, by email once their application has been reviewed and approved. The ordinary nominations week is only 7 days. This is a very busy time, and processing applications may take a little longer, which is why we recommend candidates file their nominations early so that they will receive their kits and certificates of candidacy as soon as possible. The candidate kit contains appointment of candidate representative form, a guide for candidate and political party representatives, a guide for voting and counting, how to access secure lists of voters, and the 2024 provincial election maps. Additional resources such as the Election Act and other regulations as shown can be found on our website. Participants may file their nominations to become candidates in the general election with Elections BC Online using CNAS, or manually, which includes in person, by mail, or by courier. Applications must also include a $250 nomination deposit to be effective. This fee can be paid online through CNAS, mailed or couriered to Elections BC headquarters in Victoria, or in person at the DEO office, or via select Service BC centres. Please call ahead to confirm which Service BC locations offer this service near you. The nomination deposit will be refunded to the financial agent when the election financing report is received as filed with Elections BC after the election. The Candidate Nomination Application System, CNAS, is the first online service to be developed and made available to political participants through our new Elections BC Services portal. Through CNAS, candidates have access to fillable electronic forms, which reduces common errors and omissions, e-signatures provided by DocuSign for applicants, financial agents, witnesses, and political party officers, e-payment to pay the nomination deposit by credit card, and an upload attachment feature for nominator signature forms. Please note that because nominator signatures come from a variety of sources, DocuSign is not available for those forms at this time. You can find CNAS by clicking on the Elections BC Services button on our provincial nominations page. CNAS provides parties with various functions as well. Filing electronic endorsement forms allows the party to provide endorsement easily online. DocuSign can be used to obtain secure e-signatures from principal officers to complete endorsements online. Parties can also see the status of their candidates' applications. If a candidate provides permission, the party can also open and view their full nomination application. However, parties cannot edit a candidate's application. Parties can also request access to candidate endorsements by filing a request for party access form with Elections BC. The form is available on our website. And now to discuss recording ballot names. Elections BC would like candidates to help us ensure we pronounce their names correctly when creating audio recordings for our assistive voting technology. We are asking candidates to call in and provide a recording of how to say their name. The recordings will be provided to voice actors who will read all of the ballot names based on the information provided. Assistive voting technology makes voting independently more accessible for voters who are blind, deafblind, or partially sighted, as well as voters with low literacy and those otherwise unable to mark a ballot. If candidates do not provide an audio recording, we will make best efforts to pronounce their names correctly, but cannot guarantee the pronunciation will be correct. Please make note of the phone number on the screen, 236-478-2968. One main change for this provincial election is legislation updates that were passed in 2023 under Bill 11. This Election Amendment Act clarified the independence and collusion requirements for third-party sponsors, updated the definitions for election advertising, and added specific misrepresentation and false information transmission prohibitions and penalties. We will go into details as to how these amendments specifically apply to candidates and parties in each relevant section. All registered political parties, candidates, and contestants require a financial agent, also known as an FA, who handles all election financing transactions. A candidate or contestant may act as their own financial agent. Financial agents can also appoint deputy financial agents to help them with issuing income tax receipts or filing financing reports. A financial agent's main responsibilities are opening a bank account at a financial institution at the start of the campaign for each candidate or party they're responsible for. If you are an FA and work with several candidates or contestants, you must have separate bank accounts for each. They must ensure that all income and expenses transit that account. They must carefully record and track all financial transactions. They must prepare and submit disclosure statements and financial reports for Elections BC. Additionally, FAs must issue tax receipts for contributions, ensure finances comply with the Election Act, and keep records in BC for 5 years after filing. Elections BC may request these details as a part of their review process at any time. A political contribution is any amount of money or the value of property or services provided without compensation by way of donation, advance discount, or otherwise. It also includes other revenues such as memberships, fees paid to attend a conference, or the purchase of some fundraising function tickets. Please note when collecting contributions online, the value of the contribution is the full amount provided by the contributor. Any associated costs or processing fees deducted should be recorded and reported as expenses. For example, if a contributor pays $100 online and the platform charges a $2 fee, the contribution will still be recorded as $100, not $98. The $2 will be an expense recorded on the expenses forms. Reminders: only the financial agent or authorized individuals can accept contributions. Cash contributions over $100 are prohibited. Anonymous contributions must be truly anonymous. A contributor cannot ask to have their contribution be made anonymous. Anonymous contributions must be less than $50 per person, and the maximum amount that can be accepted by a political party in a calendar year is $10,000. The maximum for candidates is $3,000. Market value must be considered for contributions of property or services. If property or services are provided to the campaign at less than market value, or sold by a campaign at greater than market value, the difference between the market value and the amount charged is a political contribution. Note that market value is defined as the lowest price charge for an equivalent property or services in the relevant area. Political contributions can only be accepted from eligible individuals, meaning a resident of BC and a Canadian citizen or permanent resident. Organizations, businesses, or out-of-province residents cannot contribute. The contribution limits are updated every January. The limit for 2024 is $1,450.82. The limit applies to all contributions made to either the political party or its associated candidates and nomination contestants as a combined total. If a contributor has given their full $1,450.82 to the party, they cannot contribute to any of the party's endorsed candidates. If a contributor has provided $500 to a nomination contestant already, the most they can contribute to an affiliated candidate or the party this year is $950.82. Please note that if a debt is unpaid and uncollected after 6 months of being due, the debt is considered a political contribution at that date. This could result in prohibited contributions from organizations or over-limit contributions for eligible individuals. When tracking contribution data, ensure you record the full name, not just initials, residential address, amount, date, and type of contribution. Note that a residential address must be the home address, not a P.O. box. Contribution types relate to the way a contribution was obtained. For example, fundraising tickets sold for greater than $250 are Type 1. Fees to attend a party convention are Type 4. Standard contributions of money are Type 9. Only one name should be provided for each contribution. If you have a check with 2 names on it, clarify which person the contribution is from, or report it as 2 separate contributions if it's from both. Contributions with incomplete information will be considered prohibited. If you're ever unsure about how to properly record a contribution, please contact our office. Prohibited contributions can include contributions exceeding the contribution limit, contributions from an ineligible source, or an anonymous contribution of $50 or more. If the candidate or party received any prohibited contributions, they must be reported and the contributions returned to the contributors within 30 days or remitted to Elections BC as soon as possible. Remitted funds are then sent to the Consolidated Revenue Fund. If a tax receipt has been issued for a prohibited contribution, the financial agent must attempt to recover the tax receipt and mark it as void. For each prohibited contribution, the financial agent must report the value, date received, circumstances, if it was received from a specific individual or organization, and if the total amount of their contributions is more than $250, the name and address of the contributor. And finally, the date the prohibited contribution was either returned or remitted to Elections BC. Individuals or organizations that make or accept prohibited contributions may be subject to monetary penalties, so be kind to your contributors and be sure to work with them so they are not subject to any penalties in addition to those which the candidate or party may be subject to. It is the financial agent's responsibility to ensure that only permitted contributions are made and accepted. There are very specific rules regarding income tax receipts which can make them a bit confusing. Income tax receipts can only be issued for contributions of money. They cannot be issued for contributions of goods and services. Parties can issue income tax receipts anytime while registered. Candidates can only issue income tax receipts for contributions received after they have received their certificate of candidacy, starting September 21st, and before the writ is returned, currently scheduled for November 5th. They cannot be given retroactively to contributors who gave to candidates outside of the specific period. Please note that leadership contestants and nomination contestants cannot issue income tax receipts. There are specific rules for income tax receipts for fundraising function tickets. Elections BC does not provide income tax receipts. Participants must have their own tax receipts printed. You can find some reference examples in our Guide for Financial Agents. Candidates are required to provide copies of tax receipts to their party if applicable. The legislation for tax receipts is in the BC Income Tax Act, so for further details, refer to that act. A transfer is a one-sided exchange of money, property, or services between a political party, its registered constituency associations, candidates, and contestants. For example, a party providing money to a candidate to start up their campaign, or a candidate returning surplus funds to their party after an election. Transfers do not include money that an organization moves between accounts, for example, from a savings account to a checking account. Please record the date of transfer, who is involved, and the value of the transfer received or given. Transfers of goods and services must be reported at their market value. Because both the giver and receiver are required to report the transfer, the transaction information should be consistently reported. The next topic is loans. Permissible loans can only be obtained from a savings institution, and the interest charged must not be less than the current prime rate. Required recording details are the full name of the lender, the amount of the loan, and the interest rate being charged. Additionally, any conditions attached to the loan must be reported, including the due date and if there has been a default or issue of non-compliance. The next type of financial transactions to discuss are expenses. An election expense is the value of property or services used during the campaign period by or on behalf of a candidate or registered political party to promote or oppose, directly or indirectly, a registered political party or the election of a candidate. This means most things used in an election are election expenses, even if the items were purchased before the election was called. Expenses are reported based on when they are used, not when they are paid for. For example, if signs are purchased before the campaign period, but not put up until the campaign period, they will be campaign period expenses and subject to the limits. The following are rules for determining the value of expenses: the price paid for the property or services, or the market value of the property or services if no money is exchanged, or if the price paid is lower than the market value. The market value is the lowest price charged for an equivalent amount of equivalent property or services in the market area at the relevant time. All expenses must be made by the financial agent or someone authorized by the financial agent and must be paid from the dedicated bank account or reimbursed from the bank account. If a registered political party incurs an election expense on behalf of a candidate, it must be recorded and disclosed as the candidate's expense, unless they are the party leader. If a registered political party incurs an expense for promoting several candidates, the expenses must be divided appropriately and attributed to the applicable candidates. To help make tracking and reporting easier for election campaigns, Elections BC encourages political parties to transfer funds to a candidate's campaign account so their financial agent can incur and pay the expense, instead of the party incurring expenses on behalf of a candidate. Election expense limits apply to election expenses used by or on behalf of candidates and political parties during the campaign period. The limits are adjusted for changes to the Consumer Price Index at the start of the election and can be found on the Elections BC website, in the BC Gazette, and they will be communicated to participants at the start of an election. The following goods and services are not election expenses: volunteer services, which includes those who do not receive compensation in relation to providing goods, services, or property; candidates' own property or services, including services or goods provided by a candidate in relation to that individual's candidacy; Elections BC services, including property or services provided by an election official or member of Elections BC's staff in relation to their official duties; news media services, including free media coverage and broadcasting; promotion of a publication, for example, producing, promoting, or distributing an already planned publication for no less than its market value. There are a variety of expenses a campaign may incur which are not subject to the campaign period expense limits, including the nomination deposit of a candidate to Elections BC, legal or accounting services provided to comply with the Act, services provided by a financial agent, or interest on a loan for election expenses. As a reminder, an election expense that is not subject to the expense limits is still subject to all other provisions of the Election Act, and all of these expenses must be paid from the campaign account using eligible funds. For further details, please see our guides on our website. The new regulations have also added the following categories for expenses which are not subject to the election expense limits: personal protective equipment which is not labeled with a partisan message, incremental costs to remove barriers for persons with disabilities, and costs to restore vandalized property. As a reminder, an election expense that is not subject to the expenses limits is still subject to all other provisions of the Election Act, and all of these expenses must be paid from the campaign account using eligible funds. Candidates and political parties that receive a specific percentage of votes in an election can submit a claim to be reimbursed for 50% of incurred election expenses, up to 50% of the election expenses limit. To be eligible for the expense reimbursement, the requirements are: a candidate or independent receives at least 10% of valid votes cast in the electoral district; a political party receives at least 5% of valid votes cast in all of BC. The claim for reimbursement must include receipts and bank records and be filed with the election financing report after final voting day. For a complete list of items that cannot be reimbursed, such as the nomination deposit, please refer to our guide for financial agents. Election advertising takes place during the campaign period and is defined as the transmission to the public by any means during the campaign period of an advertising message that promotes or opposes, directly or indirectly, a registered political party or the election of a candidate. It includes issue-based messaging associated with a registered political party or candidate, or commercially canvassing voters trying to influence their vote. Bill 11 updated the definitions of election advertising to include the following activities if the activities are conducted on a commercial basis: canvassing voters in person or by telephone or other means of electronic communication to attempt to influence how voters vote; mailing or transmitting on the internet material that contains advertising messages. Social media posts are election advertising if they meet the definitions of pre-campaign period election advertising or campaign period election advertising. This includes paid posts, posts that are sponsored or promoted to reach a wider audience, posts where money has been spent to create the post's content, even if the post is not sponsored or promoted, posts where an individual or organization has been paid to create or publish the post, even if the post itself is not sponsored or promoted. All political participants should be aware of the updates to independence and collusion requirements for third-party sponsors. Candidates, political parties, constituency associations, and their agents must be independent, must not sponsor election advertising together with, share information, nor collude with third-party sponsors. If you have anyone from outside your campaign approach you with requests for advertising copy, images, scripts, funding, or anything else to help them advertise about your campaign using their own funds and resources, you must say no. In order to assess if an individual who applies for registration as a third-party sponsor is independent, factors that may be considered by Elections BC include determining if the individual is a candidate, an individual who resides with a candidate and is a spouse, parent, child, or a relative of the candidate or of the candidate's spouse, a canvasser authorized by a candidate under Section 228.01 of the Election Act to canvass voters and distribute candidate information on the candidate's behalf. Campaign collusion involves third-party sponsors working together with other political entities to gain an advantage during an election that would not otherwise be available to them if they were operating their campaigns alone and/or whose activities are intended to circumvent the legislated provisions. And now on to authorization statements. Most election advertising must contain an authorization statement that identifies the sponsor's financial agent, provides a BC telephone number, mailing address, or email address where the financial agent can be contacted. The ability to use an email address is new from the 2023 Bill Amendment. A website address is still not sufficient. The screen shows a few examples. If a person is paid to canvass voters, either in person or by telephone, they must provide voters the name of the candidate and the financial agent's authorization. The authorization statement is not required for election advertising on clothing, novelty items, or small items such as pens, mugs, magnets, etc. Some online advertising, such as a website or banner ads, may not have room for an authorization statement. In this case, it is sufficient if one click on the ad sends the viewer to a website, landing page, or profile page that contains the sponsor's authorization statement. For further details, see our info sheet on election advertising authorization statements on our website or contact us with questions. Election signs must be allowed in a rental or strata property. However, landlords and strata corporations and their agents may set reasonable limits on the sizes and types of election signs which are permitted and may restrict placement in common areas. Candidates can authorize individuals to canvass voters and distribute candidate or political party information. Housing cooperatives, landlords, strata corporations, and their agents cannot restrict access to candidates or authorize canvassers between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. during the campaign period, provided the canvasser gives government-issued photo identification and written authorization from the candidate. For rules on signs on public property, reach out to the local municipality. For signs on highways, reach out to the Ministry of Transportation for any rules or restrictions. During a campaign period, the 100 meters around the district electoral office is a restricted area where individuals and organizations must not post, display, or disseminate any campaign period election advertising, or any material that identifies a candidate, registered party, registered political party, or registered constituency association, unless authorized by the district electoral officer. Likewise, while advance or final voting is being conducted, the 100 meters surrounding each building that contains a voting place is a restricted area. The preliminary list of advance and final voting day voting places is published on the Elections BC website. If these rules are broken, the district electoral officer or another election official has the authority to enter the property where the materials are located to remove or obscure these materials. Individuals and organizations must not publicly transmit campaign period election advertising on final voting day before the close of all voting stations. However, there are exceptions that can be found on the EBC website, such as a notice of an event that a party leader will be attending, an internet message that was posted before final voting day and will not change until after the close of voting, or an internet message with the sole purpose to encourage voters to vote in the election. The next topic is fundraising functions. A fundraising function is a social function held by an organization to raise funds. Please record the date, purpose of the event, the contribution and other income details, the venue information and expenses, and number of people who attended. If tickets are sold, the ticket values and number sold must also be recorded. If an eligible individual spends $50 on a single ticket or multiple tickets of any price, the value of tickets purchased is a political contribution. However, if someone purchases a single ticket for $50 or less, it is considered other fundraising function income and is not recorded as a political contribution. If goods are donated for sale at a fundraising function, the recorded political contribution value depends on the market value of the item. Please contact our office with any questions regarding items donated for sale. Please ensure that you record the contributors' and purchasers' information for donated goods sold. For the major registered parties and their candidates, there is a required form for specified fundraising functions. A major political party means a registered political party that has a representative appointed or is eligible to appoint a representative under Section 14 to the Election Advisory Committee. A specified fundraising function is attended by a prominent attendee, specifically a leader of a major political party, a parliamentary secretary, or a member of the Executive Council of British Columbia, i.e. the Cabinet, and held to raise funds for a major political party or candidate, nomination contestant, or leadership contestant representing a major political party. Details about specified fundraising functions must be reported both before and after the function, and must be published by Elections BC. For further details on specified fundraising functions, please see our guide for financial agents. Now to discuss the final amendments to the Election Act regarding misrepresentation and penalties. The Election Act prohibits false statements, transmission of unauthorized material and information, and misrepresentation. These have been in place since May 2023 and have serious penalties. These rules apply during regulated periods and fall into the following categories: false statements to affect election results. These include statements related to the citizenship, place of birth, or education of candidates; false statements about election officials and voting administration tools. These include misinformation that relates to an organization that provides voting administration tools to Elections BC. False election information. These include misleading information about voting options and voting opportunities. And unauthorized material or information. These include information that purports to be transmitted by the Chief Electoral Officer of Elections BC. The regulations have provisions that the statements are intended to affect election results by making the false statement, and that the individual or organization knows the statement is false, or has a reckless disregard as to whether the statement is false. Note also that the new regulations for misrepresentation are in effect regardless of the period. Misrepresentation is when an individual or organization falsely purports to be a candidate, political party, constituency association, or an individual authorized to act on behalf of these entities. These prohibitions apply in relation to an election. Parody and satire are exempted from misrepresentation prohibitions. For further details on the specifics, see our guide for financial agents appointed under the Election Act, or contact us with any questions. The Election Act establishes significant penalties for non-compliance and can include monetary penalties. Non-compliance issues are reviewed by the investigations team at Elections BC. As a brief overview of the process, if we learn that non-compliance may have occurred, we'll reach out to you to clarify the situation, and you'll have an opportunity to respond before a determination is made. When a monetary penalty is issued, a notice of non-compliance is published on the Elections BC website and in the BC Gazette. These notices provide information about the offence and the actions taken by the non-compliant individual or group to fix the situation. For more information on the penalty determination process, you can visit our website. Thank you for viewing this training, and if you have further questions, please be in touch.